Hey Xavier, we hope you're feeling better and we hope we get to see you on Monday. This is for lesson 8. If you don't get to it, it's no big deal. We can go over it once you come back. Try to do the do now on your own and then watch this portion, but if you're confused, just do it with me. So if you want to pause now and try it, or you can just do it as we go along. The first one says shade 1/4 of the circles. So we can see that we have a total over here of 12 circles, and we can see they're in groups of 4. Here's one group, two groups, three groups, and four groups. I'm going to draw a line in between each group so we can see them easily. So it says shade 1/4 of the circles. That means out of the 4 groups, we're going to be shading one group of the circles. So let's shade in one group. So now that one group is shaded in, we can see that 3 circles are shaded in. So 1/4 of the 12 circles is 3 circles. Let's move over to shading 3/4 of the circles. So once again, we have 4 groups. 1, 2, 3, 4. But this time we're going to be shading 3 of the groups because our numerator is 3. So let's then shade in 3 groups, not just 3 circles. That's one group, 2 groups, 3 groups. So now we've shaded 3/4 of the circle. So we can see that we've shaded a total of 9 circles. So 3/4 of 12 circles is 9 circles. Let's try the next one. Shade 1/3 of the circles. So once again, we can see there's 3 groups. 1, 2, 3. The numerator says 1, so that means we're going to be shading one group out of the 3 groups. Let's shade one group. So out of the 15 circles, we've shaded 5 circles. 1/3 of 15 is 5 circles. Same thing, 2/3. So we have 3 groups, 1, 2, 3. And this time we're going to be shading 2 groups since the numerator is 2. All right, we've shaded 2 out of the 3 groups. We can see that 10 circles are shaded. So 2/3 of 15 is 10. Last two for the do now. Shade 1/7 of the circles. Well, if you look and just watch, don't do this part. If we were to separate it this way, oh, you know what? There's only 1, 2, 3, 4 groups. So there's not enough groups if we separate them going horizontally. So I'm going to erase all this. But let's change the color. If we go vertically or up and down, we can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 groups. And that's where we get our 7 from denominator. So we can make arrays because each of these circles that are in a rectangle are called arrays. We can make them going horizontally like before or vertically like we see here. It says shade 1/7 of the circle. So we're going to shade one group of all 28 circles. So 1/7 of 28 circles is 4 circles. Let's try the last one. Once again, the groups are here going vertically or up and down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 groups. And we're going to be shading 4 of the 7 groups because our numerator is 4. So let's shade in not just 4 circles, but 4 entire groups. One group, 2 groups, 3 groups, 4 groups shaded. And we can see that 4 groups shaded would be a total of 16 circles shaded. So 4/7 of 28 circles is 16. Let's move on to the mastery objective. It says, I will be able to multiply any whole number by a fraction. I know I can do this when I can accurately represent the problem with a visual model, find the product of a fraction and a whole number, find the starting number when a portion of the whole is given, and create a word problem to multiply a whole number and a fraction. So let's start with the task. It says Mr. Smith bought a case, which is 24 boxes of fruit juice. 1/3 of the drinks were grape and 2/3 were cranberry. How many boxes of each flavor did Mr. Smith buy? So I'm noticing that we have a total of 24 boxes. 1/3 of them are grape and 2/3 are cranberry. So we're trying to figure out how many grape juice boxes there are and how many cranberry juice boxes there are. Well, I can see that grape, there's 1/3 of a total of 24 boxes. So the grape consists of 1/3 of 24 fruit juice boxes. What we can do, and don't worry, we're going to do a few of these, so it's okay if you don't get it right away. We're going to create a tape diagram, which is just a really long rectangle. And this is going to represent our 24 boxes that we have. We're going to split this 24 of our tape diagram into 3 sections because our denominator is 3. We need to find the value of each part of our tape diagram. So I'm thinking, what can we multiply by 3, since there's 3 parts, to get to 24? Well, I know that 3 times 8 is 24. So 8 is going to go into each of these parts. Let's look. We notice that the numerator is 1, so we're just going to be looking at one part. We can see that one part contains 8 juice boxes. So 1/3 of 24 is 8 grape. Ooh, that's a bad A. Juice boxes. So when it says how many boxes of each flavor did Mr. Smith buy, he bought 8 grape boxes. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to change the color. We'll do orange. All right, now we're going to do cranberry. It says that he bought 2/3 of cranberry. So now we're going to do 2/3 of 24 because he still has 24 boxes, but 2/3 of them are going to be grape. So we're going to make our tape diagram. The total amount of juice boxes he bought was 24. We're going to partition this into 3, or split this into 3 parts. Once again, we see that 24 is broken up into 3 parts. We just did the math over here. 3 times 8 equals 24, so each part is worth 8 juice boxes. Instead of just looking at one part this time, we see our numerator is 2. So that means that we're going to be looking at 2 of these parts. 8 plus 8 is 16. So that means that Mr. Smith bought 16 cranberry juice boxes. So he bought 8 grape and 16 cranberry. And we know that's right because 16 cranberry plus the 8 grape does get us a total of 24 juice boxes. If you don't understand, that's okay. That was a quick one. We're going to go ahead and move on to guided learning, and we'll do a few more like this. 2/5 of 10. So remember, of means that we're multiplying. So we're going to start by drawing a tape diagram. And basically what this problem is saying is if we have 10 of objects of anything, so 10 cupcakes, 10 pounds of chocolate, we want to split that into 5 groups because we have our denominator is 5, and we want to find a portion of 10. So we're going to start by splitting our tape diagram into 5 groups. Well, we have 10 as our whole. We're splitting this into 5 groups. 10 divided by 5 is 2. And if we can't do 10 divided by 5, that's too hard. We can do 5 times what equals 10. And we know 5 times 2 is 10. So each of these blocks, or parts, I should say, is going to be 2. We can double check our work by counting 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So we partitioned that correctly. Now the numerator, the top number, says we're going to be looking at 2 parts. So let's look at these 2 parts. We can see that there's 2 in the first part, 2 in the second part, totaling 4. So 2/5 of the total 10 equals 4. Let's try B. Same numbers, but the question's asking something a little different. It says 2/5 of a number is 10. So we're not sure what that starting number is, but part of the number, if we were to partition into 5 blocks, 2 parts of that is 10. So let's start by creating a tape diagram. we're not sure our total number. It says, what is the number? We're trying to find that out. So I'm going to draw a question mark because I'm not sure what the starting number is. But we are going to split this into 5 groups or 5 parts because our denominator or our bottom number is 5. So now that we split this into 5 parts, we know that 2 of the parts added together equals 10. So 2 of these parts added together is 10. I'm thinking to myself, what 2 numbers can I add together to get 10? But remember, fractions mean equal parts, so they have to be the same number. I know that 5 plus 5 equals 10, or 5 times 2 blocks or 2 parts equals 10. So I know that each part is going to equal 5. Now that we've filled out our whole tape diagram, we can figure out what the total is. We can add 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, or we can just multiply 5 times the 5 parts that we see. Either way, we're going to get 25. So what is our starting number? It's 25. All right, so let's try guided learning C. It says 3/5 times 15. But remember what I said, when we're multiplying, the word we can use is of. So it's just like problem A, where it was finding, what was it, 2/5 of, 2/5 of 10. Now we're just doing 3/5 of 15. So we're going to do the same steps. We're going to start by drawing our tape diagram. We know the total amount of objects is 15 because we're trying to find a portion of 15. Once again, the denominator is 5, so we're going to split this into 5 parts. All right, so now I'm thinking I need to find the value of each part. So imagine that you have 15 game controllers or video games, and you want to put them into groups of 5, or 5 groups, I should say. So we have 15 divided by 5 groups equals 3 video games in each group. If division is too hard, you can always do 5 groups times what equals 15, and we still get the answer of 3. So each group or each part is having a value of 3. Now, we notice that we're just going to be looking at 3 of the parts because the numerator is 3. So let's look at 3 parts. I can add 3 plus 3 plus 3, or I can multiply 3 times the 3 parts. Either way, I'm going to get an answer of 9. So 3/5 of 15 equals 9. Let's try the next one. Same numbers, but it's asking a different question. 3/5 of a number is 15. What is the number? So we don't know the starting number. We just know that a portion of the number is 15. So once again, we're going to start by drawing a tape diagram. We have no idea what the starting number is. That's what we're at. That's what's asking us to find. But we see that it's going to be split into 5 parts because our denominator is 5. We need to then see that 3 of those parts, when we're adding them together, gets you 15. So I'm thinking I have a total of 15. I'm splitting it between 3 groups or 3 parts. I need to figure out the value of each part. I know that 15 divided by 3 is 5. Or if I wanted, I could say 3 groups times how many in each group gets me to 15. The answer would still be 5. So each part is worth 5. And remember, when we're dealing with fractions, all parts are equal. So if those are all 5, the last 2 parts are 5. So now we can go ahead and add up the total amount. We can add 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, or we can multiply 5 times the 5 parts. Either way, we're going to get an answer of 25. Let's try E. Kylie had 18 yards of fabric. She used 1/3 of it to make a quilt. How many yards of fabric did Kylie use for the quilt? All right, so let's see. She has a total of 18 yards, so we do know the total, and she's using 1/3 of that total. So I'm going to write this as 1/3 of 18, which is the same thing as 1/3 times 18. We're going to start by drawing our tape diagram. We know the total is 18 because that's how many yards of fabric she starts with. And we want to find 1/3 of that. So we're going to break these into 3 parts since the denominator is 3. I'm thinking 18 divided by 3 equals what? I know that 18 divided by 3 is 6. And if I didn't want to use division, I could go 3 parts times the value of each part equals 18. 3 times 6 equals 18. Either way, you're going to get 6 as being the value of each part. And our numerator tells us how many parts to look at. Our numerator is 1. We're only going to look at one part. Kylie needs 6 yards to make, 6 yards to make one quilt. 2 more problems. F. Caden spent 4/6 of his money on slime. If the total cost of the slime costs $24, how much money did he have at first? So it's asking us to try to find out how much money he started with. So we don't know the amount of money that Caden walked into the store with. We have a question mark here. We do know that he spent most of his money on slime, which cost $24. So we're trying to see, notice that we need to split this into 6 parts because our denominator is 6. And 4 of those parts added up equals 24. Sorry about that. All right, so 24 split into 4 groups. So we can do 24 divided by the 4 part equals 6 in each part. Or if we didn't know that, we could do 4 parts times the value of each part equals a total of 24. So still, 4 times 6 equals 24. Either of those is going to get you an answer of knowing that each part is worth 6. And we can double check our work by adding 6 plus 6 is 12, plus 6 is 18, plus 6 is 24. So we know we're right. We know that when we're dealing with fractions, all the parts are the same. So the last 2 parts are also going to be 6. And now we can add up the total to figure out how much money Caden started with. 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 24, plus the 6 is 30, plus the other 6 is $36. If you didn't want to count and add up the whole time, you can just multiply 6 in each part times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts equals $36. So Caden spent $24 on slime, but he originally had $36 to spend. So we had $12 left over. Last problem. Naomi buys 24 roses. Of these roses, 3/4 are red and the rest are white. How many white roses did she buy? So it's giving us the fraction of red roses. We need to figure out the fraction of white roses, and we need to figure out how many of the roses were white. So we know that the total amount of roses that Naomi had was 24. We're going to break this into 4 parts because our denominator is 4. Let's see, 24 roses split into 4 groups. Oh, we did this before. 24 divided by 4 is 6. And if we weren't sure about that, we could say 4 parts times the value of each part equals 24. 4 times 6 equals 24. So that means each part is going to be worth worth 6 roses. 3/4 of them are red. So I'll use the red. So this one's going to be red, this is red, and this is red. And the leftover is going to be white. So I noticed that 1/4 of the roses are white, which means that 6 roses are white. Naomi has 6 white roses. Try your best on the rest of them, and if you have questions, we can always answer them later.